Alright, so I'm going to do this video real quick. So, I've said this in other videos I probably haven't posted. I don't remember what I haven't posted at this point. I got so many back videos, so many things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to post that. I don't get around to it, then I post it, and it's just like, well, that topic's kind of already over. But anyway, as you guys already have known, and if I haven't posted it in this, if you haven't heard it in a previous video, you're going to hear in this video. XY Rising is, it's kind of been, on critical life support, if not, just clinically alive for quite some time now. And, content may, I don't want to say disappear because, I may still make some, videos here and there. And that's what I'm going to do when it comes to this presidential debate, since it's 2020. And some things may get fired back up, but it may just be a spike in, content. Because, again, some of the people who used to help us out and support us have kind of, they have left the site, but we still take their ideas because, some of us are, friends in person as well, and we have conversations, and, we used to pick from that, and I used to pick from that, and I still kind of pick from that. But, this has kind of become, this division, as far as the YouTube channel, has become my own thing, and what have you. So, yeah, that's just kind of what it is. But anyway, getting back onto really the point of this video is that, the 2020 election's coming up. So, of course, all the debates are starting, and the Democrats have already had their first round of debates. And I want to comment on it because there's a lot of interesting things that I see that I'm going to talk to some of my guy friends about it, or not guy friends, some of the XY Rising crew about it, because I'm obviously getting married, so I don't have time to really talk to them like I used to. So I'm sure they've already talked about it, but I want to make it kind of like an official thing on the website. So I'm going to update my thoughts and some of their thoughts as to how the debates went and some of the topics that were brought up, and what have you. I wouldn't be surprised if a good portion of them did not watch it, since again, they're mostly right-leaning Republicans. I'm more of a right-leaning moderate. But that aside, it's like the Democrats are really going hard in the paint on certain issues. Now, I'm only kind of about a third, maybe almost halfway through the first debate, which was a few days ago at this point, and I'm already seeing a whole lot of response videos up, and people kind of giving their thoughts and ideals and reflections as to what was said and what was discussed. And I just feel like it's time for me to do it. But with planning a wedding and getting things ready for my fiance to move in and whatnot, it's kind of like I kind of don't have time to kind of sit down and actually hardcore watch it, because I'm just I'm pulling all sorts of different directions. So work is really light this week, really light this week. So I'm gonna do my best, guys, to really watch these debates and get my commentary on it. But I'm just kind of giving my commentary right now. It's I guess it's like a part one about the Democrat debates, and they're on the topic of gun control. And I was last listening to they weren't the last person talking when I turned it off, but Mayor of New York, it was de Blasio, I think his name was, and he talked about he has to have tough conversations with his son and the police, and it's just are you serious? So you raise a black child and you're having discussions about essentially, he didn't say it, but it was police brutality. And it's no, you can't play that card, son. Even though your son is black, everyone knows that his dad's the mayor of New York. Ain't no police gonna accidentally shoot him, right? And even then, the police who busted up Eric Gardner and killed him, they're not that's not the same neighborhood that you live in as the mayor of New York. Let's just keep it 100. Don't even start with that, And it's y'all know I'm the race guy. It's I know the whole race argument inside and out. I've listened to enough debates and arguments, and been in enough debates and arguments to where I know the answer to most of the I know the answer to canned responses and most higher level arguments and kind of phraseology and whatnot. Just because I've been And I've been at this for years, and of course I'm black myself, so there's a lot of talking points that I just grew up with. But when he said that, I was like, oh, stop, And that actually wasn't even the biggest thing that made me do an eye roll or a shock. The biggest one was listening to Beto O'Rourke speak Spanish. Oh, I was too through. Like Beto O'Rourke, congressman from Texas. Like O'Rourke. That Irish ass name, and he's like, "Ben padres ochos no me discoste." And I was like, I'll speak Spanish. I didn't actually say anything, but I'm just like, is he serious? I'm like, oh, his wife must be Hispanic or something, which I don't know if she is or not. But like, his Spanish is really good as far as like him speaking fluently. But again, he's also from Texas, which is right next to Mexico, so it's not too much of a shocker. But like, you can just tell. This ain't gonna let me over. But it's like, really? Like, you sat here and you gonna speak Spanish? Oh man, I was too through. And then I call him the black guy / Obama 2.0 because like he's half black, clearly, because again, his skin's like lighter than a paper bag from a liquor store. But basically Obama's replacement on the panel. I didn't bother learning their names. Like I said, like I'm not left leaning, so I don't know the candidates like that quite yet, and I haven't heard enough of them talk. Like, yeah, I know Elizabeth Warren's up there and whatnot, but I also view this debate, not to get off too far on a tangent, but I also view this debate like the Republicans back in 2016, where it was like, we're gonna have a quick debate. We have a panel of 15 people. I was like, whoa, really? This is what we're going to do now? But I understand what the establishment's doing. They got to have a whole bunch of people up there to make it look like there's this diversity of ideas. And, of course, the 3 or 4 people who actually have different ideas, they get to answer one question. And then, the same 3 or 4 people who the establishment wants, they're the ones who actually go back and forth. So it's no different than it has been. It's just more people up there to give the semblance of choice. Because, again, the American people are catching on to some certain aspects of control. So they got to give the semblance of freedom and illusion again. And this is just another tactic. But anyway, like, I'll get their names down. I've been listening to, Elizabeth Warren, shriek, and we all know America's favorite Democrat to make fun of is AOC. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but she's still, running around in Congress doing her thing. But, yeah, I mean, it's just like those 2 big points are hilarious. A couple of gun control things that they mentioned were kind of funny, like, I forget the one chick's name. She looked like a mix between Monica Lewinsky and Michelle Bachmann. But she was over here talking like, I was raised with guns, and I don't want to have any form of gun control that'll take the guns out of basically hunters and fishermen's hands. And it's like, and then she proceeded to talk about like rifles, and it's like, first off, the assault rifles that everyone's scared of are already illegal, and then on top of that, they're actually pushing for gun control that would actually take the rifles out of the hands of hunters, because when they're like, well, we need to ban what was it, like, not extended barrel, but like long barrel guns, which is essentially rifles, and all these different hunting rifles fall into that category naturally. And they're just like, oh, well, we're not going to do that, but we're going to do that. And it's just like, see, this is why Democrats lose, man. It's like, and me personally, I don't care who's in office as long as you stay consistent. So like, if we elect you to do X, Y, and Z, then you should do X, Y, and Z. And I hold both parties to that standard. Now, some of my right-leaning counterparts who typically vote overly Republican don't. It's like, the Democrats need to be consistent. And then it's like, hey, the Republicans are inconsistent on A, B, and C over here. Well, ends justifies the means. It's like, ain't that what the Democrats said? Well, hey, they started it. It's just like, wait a minute, didn't you just say that they started it isn't a adequate excuse, considering that the Democrats point out that for Republicans and say, hey, they started it, and it's just like, that's weak, that's spineless, right? It's just like, and this is why we vote Republican. It's just like, okay, but anyway, going back to the gun issue, it's like, so you're going to vote to ban the rifles that hunters use, but you're not banning the rifles that the hunters use because of the Second Amendment, right? It's like, okay, yeah. You know, it's really funny listening to Democrats argue about gun control. I mean, it's literally like listening to 10-year-olds discuss traffic laws. Like, don't none of you own a car, don't none of you drive, don't none of you actually know the real dangers that are presented on the road, but yet you guys have all these opinions. You know, it's just like, all right. But, you know, it's like, it's a show, man. Like, this country is nothing but a show. And that's including Republicans. Like, this is all just a dog and pony show, and everyone's just, you know, pandering. I can't wait to hear if they bring up reparations during this debate, because, you know, like, that was a hot topic going into this debate panel. At least online it was, and I've noticed how it's gotten kind of silent. But again, I'm only about a third, halfway through the first debate, so I don't want to, you know, I don't want to assume, and then it actually is brought up. But, you know, the ADOS movement, hashtag ADOS, which is, you know, African descendants of slavery, you know, they're talking about reparations and what black people need to specifically do as a group to get, you know, our voices heard. But, you know, it's just, it's just funny to hear this, man. Like, it's like already, like, I thought I'd at least get about halfway through the debate before, you know, some obvious hilarity ensued, but it's like, nah. Like, oh, man, it's like, nope, topic number one, immediately. But anyway, let me finish watching this debate, and I'll give, you know, kind of an official breakdown. I'll try to keep it short. I'm serious. I will try to keep it short. But, yeah, just be on the lookout for my analysis. I'm not going to name this part 2. I'll just probably, or I won't name the next video part 2. I'll probably just name this whatever, and then just rehash some of the things I talked about and still call it part 1. But anyway, that's my video. John from XY Rising.